that was brought on the second day of Pesach from the new grain brought by the nation, brought like a typical mincha. A fistful goes into the fires, the rest gets eaten by the Kohanim, and after the offering of the new mincha, then everyone's allowed to eat chadash.
Amen.
So we look at the Mishnah here on Samach Zayin and Beis. The Mishnah says in the middle, Mishakarav ha'omer, once the omer was brought, Yotzin, everybody would now exit the Beis Hamikdash. Umotzin Shuke Yushalayim or Shvake Yushalayim Shumale Kemach v'Kali. So then they'd go outside and right very quickly. All the markets were filled with new flour, with new caramelized flour, toasted wheat kernels of the new grain that people can buy. So, was that such a good idea? Rabbi Meir says that the sages were not happy about this. Because as the Gemara explains, the sages said they must have been preparing the flour before the Omer was brought. So that's not kosher yet, it's chadash. People might eat from it. So it's not a good idea to prepare non-kosher food. People might forget and eat. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, no. They would remember not to eat. And therefore the sages were fine with this arrangement. Asks the Gemara, is Rabbi Yehuda not worried that we shouldn't be allowing people to be preparing flour, because then they might eat from it? We know that Rabbi Yehuda is worried that people might eat. We see that in regards to chametz on Pesach. I'll challenge you. We learned Rabbi Yehuda says in Masechta Pesachim, both can or arba asar. A person should check for chametz on the night of the 14th. If he forgets, he can check arba asar shachas. He can check on the 14th in the morning. If he forgot he didn't do that, b'shas habir, he could check the 14th in the afternoon. But after that, once it's already prohibited to eat chametz, he shouldn't be checking for chametz, because if he checks for chametz, he might forget and eat it. However, Chacham go further. They say if he didn't check before Pesach and he remembers on Pesach, so he checks for chametz on Chol Moed. So why is it that in regards to chametz, Rabbi Yehuda is worried that a person might eat what he's not allowed to eat, and that's why he says don't be checking for chametz once you're not allowed to eat chametz. And here, in regards to the kemach and kali, in regards to the flour and the caramelized flour, he's not worried. And he says people can prepare everything, even though they're preparing it when it's not allowed. Why isn't he worried people might eat it? Answer number one, Rabbi answered. Shayni chadash. Here, in regards to the new grain, now starting today's daf, samach chesamad aleph, mitoch shlo hitar telo el al yidei kituf. Since, as we've learned, the first harvesting is done by a sickle. Kohanim with sickles, either one Kohen on Shabbos or three Kohanim on Shabbos, with a magel, with a sickle. Me'achel chermesh b'kama. So that means that before that, no one's allowed to harvest with a sickle. So whatever cutting down of whatever wheat is out in the markets that was prepared earlier was wheat that was only taken by hand. It wasn't wheat cut down with a sickle, because you're not allowed to cut down with a sickle until after the Omer. So it's kernels that were picked by hand. So that's a very unusual way to pick by hand. As he says, it's hard. You don't pick too much by hand. So since it was only picked by hand, everybody remembers we can't eat it.
How could we be sure? It could be Amaharit.
I guess they were trusting. Maybe the Amaratzim were be guided by the sages. So again, since he didn't permit him to pick it, only by plucking it by hand, Zacharu, he remembers that it's chadash and he's not going to eat it. Abaye said, Teinach tzira. Okay, that's fine that during the picking he'll remember not to eat it. But when he's grinding, when he's sifting it, he might forget, he might eat it, and he's not allowed to. Answer the Gemara, hello, Kash, it's not a question. He doesn't sift or grind in the normal way. He grinds it with a hand grinder, not with big millstones. Harkada, the sifting is al gabe nafa. It's with a, he has to use one of the late stage sifters for the sifting. So therefore he'll remember not to eat it. Whereas still, beis hashlachim. But what about if it's from a field which is watered by, beis hashlachim is a field which is dry, so we need to water it with water. We can't just use irrigation. We can't just use the rain. And we know that in those fields, Sharia Ktsira, you're allowed to cut with a sickle before the Omer was brought. To the Mishnah, those fields that are irrigated, that are in the valleys, you can cut prior to the bringing of the Omer with the normal way, with sickles. But the grain, you can't pile that grain up in the normal way. So now, so if he cut grain from a Beis HaShlachim, and you're saying he's allowed to turn that grain into Kemach and Kali, he might eat it. So how could Rabbi Yehuda allow them to turn into Kemach and Kali? El Amar Abai, so rather Abai said, the answer is like this. The reason why Rabbi Yehuda says it's not such a problem to be preparing flour and Kali before the Omer, even though he's so worried that if on Pesach somebody's dealing with chametz, he might eat the chametz, there's a big difference. Chadash badamine, the new grain, everybody's been avoiding. He's been avoiding it since it was growing, because he knows he has to wait till the Omer is brought to eat the new grain. So since he knows to avoid it, even what he cuts, even what he grinds, even what he sifts, he knows not to eat, because this is stuff I have to avoid. But chametz lo badamine, but chametz is not something you avoid. All year you eat chametz. Now you have to stop. It's hard when the train is going to suddenly stop. The whole time you're eating chametz. Now you have to stop. So that's what Rabbi Yehuda says he's worried people are going to eat it. They're going to forget again. But Chadash is not worried people are going to eat because everybody knows to avoid it. Yeah, question.
The only reason they didn't eat that is because of the chametz situation. It creates a chametz. You know, before Omer.
Before Omer, you're not allowed to eat anything which has grown. Any grain that grew
in the previous year. Is that right?
Since the last Omer. Any grain that's grown since the last Omer is not allowed until the Omer is brought. The Omer permits the eating of the new grain.
The new grain. So they have to eat from 2 years ago's grain.
Not 2 years ago, 1 year ago.
A year ago, right, yeah.
From before the Omer. Stuff that was already ripe before the Omer.
Uh-huh.
If things were not planted before the Omer, they were planted later, then you can't eat it.
So the ones they hand-picked.
So nowadays in America, they claim, I'm not such an expert on this question, but they claim that there's two types of wheat. They claim that there is spring wheat and winter wheat. So spring wheat is okay, because that was planted before the Omer. But winter wheat, which is planted after the Omer, that's not allowed until the second day of Pesach.
Rabbi, we care about that even in America?
Do they mark them, Rabbi?
This is an issue. So in Israel, certainly we care about it. In America, there are two questions. One is, halachically, are we worried about the Yashan and Chadash outside of Israel, which we'll see about on this daf? That's one question. The other question is, what are the realities here? So I remember growing up hearing that since America produces so much wheat, most of the wheat that's produced in the winter goes into storage for years. It was sent over to Russia. They have so much wheat that they're storing it, that there is no problem of Chadash here. Right. But I don't know. There is a fellow, there's a rabbi, his name is Rabbi Herman. He's already now he's an older man, but he produces every year a whole list of products that he says are problematic. And Rabbi Genak is very careful for this. The real briskers, they're
a lot of people are, I know that.
Outside of Eretz Yisrael, you have to do it also?
So that's an argument in the Gemara and Kiddushin, but it seems like you do. But apparently in Europe,
it's not like
in the Jewish communities, in Europe, in the Jewish communities, they didn't do it. The question is why. So it's like there are other things that they didn't do in Lithuania and Poland. So there's a famous Bach where the Bach is lenient about it. But here in America, there was some who said maybe we should go. It's easier now. Maybe we could go back.
What is the reason for it, Rabbi? Do we know, or this is a
pasuk? It's a pasuk in the Torah. You can only start eating the new grain after the second day of Pesach.
We don't know why.
Right. Now, so this is the answer number one for Rabbi Yehuda. Again, Rabbi Yehuda is worried that a person might eat chametz. He's not worried that a person's going to eat chadash. So Amar Rava said, 1 second. Rabbi Yehuda kasha? Rabbanan lo kasha? There's only a problem Rabbi Yehuda against Rabbi Yehuda. There's no problem of the Rabbanan against the Rabbanan. Understand, in regards to chametz, the Rabbanan say you can check for chametz on Chol HaMoed Pesach because they're not worried you're going to eat chametz. Meanwhile, here they're not happy that people prepared flour from the Chadash before the Omer because they're worried people are going to eat from it. They're normally not worried people are going to eat. Ela Amar Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda said like this. Ela Amar Rava. Therefore Rava said, Rav Yehuda Kasha Kedushanina. The contradiction of Yehuda is not there because we gave the answer. Chadash people are avoiding anyway. So they're not going to be so used to eating. Chametz people are eating all the time, so now we're worried he might eat it. However, Rabbanan also is lo kasha. It's also not a problem. The answer is like this. Why are the Rabbanan worried that a person might eat some Chadash flour, but they're not worried that a person might eat some Chametz flour on Pesach when he's looking for Chametz? Because the answer is, when he's looking for Chametz, hu atzmu mechazer lo v'sorfo. Why is he looking for it? Because he wants to go find it and burn it. Mm-hmm. So when he's looking to burn something, mechal achal minei, he's going to forget himself and now eat from it. He's looking for it to burn it. So that's not a problem, he might eat from it. But here, with the Chadash, he's not looking to burn it. So if he prepared Chadash before the Omer, he might forget and he might eat. Rav Ashi gave another answer. Rav Ashi Amar Rabbi Yehuda lo kasha. In Rabbi Yehuda, there's no contradiction. Again, according to Rabbi Yehuda, he's not worried that people might eat Chadash. He is worried people might eat Chametz. So what's the I? Is he worried that people will eat? He's not worried people will eat. Not a contradiction. Why? Kemach Chali Tna. Our Mishnah talks about flour and Kali. Kali is, caramelized flour. So none of these things are really edible. You can't eat the flour. You'd have to mix the flour with water and eggs, and yeast, and salt, and sugar, and cinnamon. So you can't eat it just as flour. So these things are not really food. These are like preparations for food. So since these are not yet really food, that's why he's not worried people are going to eat from it. Asks the Gemara. Says the Gemara, V'had Rav Ashi, this answer of Rav Ashi, Barusahi, take it out. It doesn't work. It's a mistake. Because Teinach Mikali Ve'elach. Okay, that's fine. Once it was caramelized or once it was flour. But Ad Kali Ma'ikal Amema. But what are you going to say before it became flour? When it was still just kernels. People could eat it then. And if you're going to allow people to handle it, they might eat it. You're going to say, no. When it's kernels, no one's going to eat it because it was picked by hand. Since it was picked by hand, they remember not to eat it. Uka de Rabba, like the answer that Rabba wanted to propose. And then you have the question that Abaye said. What about Beis Hashlachim, the Sharik Tzir Ma'ikal Meimar? But in the fields that are irrigated, where you are allowed to cut by sickle even before the Omer is brought, what are you going to do? People might eat from these kernels before it became Kamach and Kali.
What's the penalty for eating?
It's a violation of a law. So, Ella Hadrav Ashi Barusahi. So now that this answer of Rav Ashi is a mistake, take it out. It's not correct. Okay, the Mishnah now. Mishakarav HaOmer. So once the Omer was brought, Hutar Chadash Miyad. So now, everywhere, immediately, they are allowed to eat the new grain. The people are outside of Yerushalayim. They don't know about it. They didn't have internet and satellite phones and live streaming. So how are people who are away from Yerushalayim? When should they start eating Chadash? All right, Arachokin, those who are far from Yerushalayim, Mutar Mechatzos Yom Ulahalan. They're allowed to eat the new grain from the middle of the day and on. Because as we'll see, by the middle of the day, they could be sure, by then already they brought it. Listen, this is the Sanhedrin's responsibility. Kohanim's rizimheim. Kohanim, they are passionate. They rush to do mitzvahs right away. So they got it done. So middle of the day, already by then they could be confident. What happens? Mishachar Beis HaMikdash. Once we lost the Beis HaMikdash, so now we don't have the Omer to permit the Chadash. At what point does the Chadash become permitted? Says the Mishnah. Hiskin Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai. Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai instituted Shehei Yom Henef Kulo Asur. He said that this day, the second day of Pesach, Yom Henef. Why is it called Yom Henef? Because it's the day that the Omer is brought, and the Omer is brought by waving. So the day of waving, the entirety of the day of waving is prohibited. So the entire second day of Pesach, no eating Chadash. Starting the third day of Pesach, that's when they could eat Chadash. Rabbi Yehuda says, you're making a takana, Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai, to prohibit the entire second day of Pesach from eating chadash, because now we don't have an omer. Halom min Torah hu asur. It is a biblical law that you can't have chadash the entire second day when you don't have an omer. Shenema, because the verse says, ad etzem hayom hazeh, until the essence of this day, the essence meaning the very end of this day. So that means that once you don't have an omer, so then it goes till etzem hayom hazeh, then you have to wait till the essence of the day, till the very end of the day, and then it would only mean that the next day, the third day, is when the chadash becomes permitted. Now, going back to an earlier line in the Mishnah said that people far from Yerushalayim, starting at midday, when we had a Beis HaMikdash, could start eating the new grain. Why are the far places allowed to eat from the middle of the day and on? Because they know for sure, they can be confident, that Bezdin are not going to be lazy with this. Bezdin are not lazy. They do their job. Bezdin's not going to be lazy and not offer the korban in the morning. Okay, says the Gemara. We saw this Gemara back in Masechta Sukkah and in Masechta Rosh Hashanah. This is a famous Gemara about Rabbi Yochanan and Zakkai's Takana. Rav and Shmuel the Arbi Tarvayu. Rav and Shmuel both say, Bismach Beis HaMikdash Kayam, when there was a Beis HaMikdash, Omer Matir. Then the offering of the korban Omer was what would permit the new grain. Bismach Shein Beis HaMikdash Kayam, when there is no Beis HaMikdash, then Mido Raisa. Hey, your Mizrach Matir. Once the sun rises on the 16th, it becomes permitted. But the night of Motzoi Yom Tov Rishon, the night of after Pesach, in fact, you couldn't eat the new grain. So, my timer, what's the source for Rav and Shmuel? Trade Kroy Ksivi. There are two psukim. Ksiv, on the one hand, you have a verse that says, Ad Aviyachem. The verse says, V'lechem v'kali v'charmel. Lechem or kali or carmel, right? Bread, caramel. Lo sochlu, don't eat at etzem hayom hazeh, until the essence of this day. And then it says, Ad aviyachem es korban elokichem, until you bring the korban of your God. Chukas olam adorosechem, l'chol moshvosechem. This is an eternal law for your generations in all of your residences. So on the one hand, it says in this verse, Ad aviyachem es korban elokichem. But earlier in that verse, right before it says Ad Aviyachem, it said Ad Etzem Hayom Hazeh, until the very essence of this day. So what is it? Is it you can't eat until the day, or you can't eat until the korban? The answer is it depends when we have a Beis HaMikdash or not. Okay, so how does it work? Kam is Beis HaMikdash Kayam, then it's Ad Aviyachem. So you bring. Once you bring, you can eat. Kan, and the verse that says Ad Etzem is Bizman Shein Beis HaMikdash Kayam. When you don't have a Beis HaMikdash, when you don't have a korban, so then you wait till the morning. And come the morning, you're allowed to eat.
The morning of the second day of Pesach?
Morning of the second day of Pesach,
right,
according to them. Rabbi Yehuda said the third. Now, Rabbi Yehuda didn't say the morning of the third. He said the third.
Right.
It means even the night.
They mean the 16th, no?
They mean, right, the morning of the 16th. Okay, this is the view of Rav and Shmuel. However, Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish, Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish say, both of them, Afilu b'zman Beis HaMikdash Kayam, even when there was a Beis HaMikdash, Hey, your Mizrach Matir. There come the morning of the 16th, Ad Etzem Hayom Hazeh, you're really allowed to eat the new grain. What do you mean?
Even if they didn't do
Even if they didn't bring the Omer. But doesn't the verse say right after the morning, it says Ad Aviyachem, until you bring. It's not that you have to bring the Omer. That is the mitzvah. That's just ideal. The mitzvah, you get a mitzvah if you wait to eat from the new grain until the Omer was brought. But if you didn't wait till the Omer was brought and start after sunrise, you eat the new grain, there's no law, there's no prohibition of the lechem v'kali v'charmel lo sochlu. V'shakarav ha'omer, once the Omer was brought, hutar chadash miyad, the Gemara asks, what our Mishnah says, only once the Omer is brought is the new grain permitted right away. So it's not like Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish who say that with sunrise of day 16 of Nisan, the new grain is permitted even when we have a Beis HaMikdash. Again, the answer is what the Mishnah means is lemitzvah. Once the Omer is brought, so then it's the ideal of eating the new grain. But even before the Omer was brought, the prohibition of eating the new grain, according to them, was removed.
Rabbi, why none of these Tanaim said the second night? They said the second morning. We said
We're going to get to it. We'll see. There's a view that says that. We'll get to it towards the end. On eating the new grain? No.
no shakol.
Right?
No, we're saying the mitzvah is not to eat it until the Omer. Right? When it says that the Omer is needed to permit it, it means the Omer is needed so that you can now have a lechatchila of, in the first instance, eating of the new grain. But the prohibition of don't eat the new grain is already removed with the morning of day 2, just with the time. Ask the Gemara, third question. We have another Mishnah. The Mishnah says, Omer ayamatir b'medina. Omer permits the new grain to be eaten everywhere, not in Yerushalayim. Shtei alechem, the offering of the 2 breads on Shavuos, is b'mikdash, is allowing the offering of new grain in the Beis HaMikdash as menachos. So one second, the Omer is matir b'medina. It doesn't say that the day is matir b'medina. That's a problem again for Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish. So I said, no, again, but it means is l'mitzvah. That once the Omer is brought, now even as the first instance, as the first choice, you can be eating the new grain everywhere. But the prohibition is removed already with the morning. Asking our fourth question. We learned our Mishnah again. Mishachar Beis HaMikdash, once the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, Hiskin Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai. Then Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai instituted Shehei Yom Hanev Kulo Asur, that the entire second day of Pesach you can't eat the new grain. My timer. So what's the reasoning of Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai? So this is the classical explanation. Meher Yibana Beis HaMikdash. We are anticipating that the Beis HaMikdash might be rebuilt any time, as Rashi explains in Masech the Sukkah on the Sugya, because the third Beis HaMikdash is going to come down from heaven. It's already fully built. It can show up at any moment. That's what Rashi holds. The third Beis HaMikdash is coming down from heaven. It's prefabbed. Very nice. Like David's house. It's already been prefabbed. It's ready to come. So it can come down any moment. So it'll be Pesach, the first day. We don't have a Beis HaMikdash. Motzai Pesach, we're going to have a Beis HaMikdash. It's going to come down from heaven, all built.
I think the Arab's going to sink into the earth first before that comes down. Rabbi.
So the Zohar says that the Arabs don't have to sink into the earth. The Zohar says that before Mashiach comes, Hashem takes Eretz Yisrael and He shakes it. So all those who don't belong, they fall off.
Has to do a lot of shaking there, Rabbi.
Hashem will shake it, and those who don't belong there will leave. So again, my time. What's the reason why Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai made his rule? He said, "Meher Yibana Beis HaMikdash." We're anticipating that the Beis HaMikdash will be rebuilt very soon. The Beis HaMikdash will be rebuilt very soon, and we're going to have a Beis HaMikdash. And if people can eat the new grain from the morning, Roma, they're going to say, "Ishtaket last year, Bilo Achal Be'er Mizrach." Last year, didn't we eat once the sun rose? Now also let's eat. Lo Yadi, they're not going to realize the Ishtaki that last year Lo Hava Omer. You didn't have a carbon Omer. That's why here Mizrach Matir. The rising sun permitted the new grain. But Hashad the Ika Omer. But now that you have a Beis HaMikdash and you have the possibility of bringing Omer, Omer Matir. You need to bring the Omer. 1 second. You're going to think that the Omer is just Le Mitzvah. Mishum Mitzvah. Just because you want to have the Lechatchila, the ideal eating after the Omer. Leikum v'ligzor, that's where we're going to get up and make a decree because of a lechatchila. Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak said, really, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, Yeshitas Rabbi Yehuda Amra. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, he is not. Oh, welcome, please come join us. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, he's not saying that he's worried about the Beis HaMikdash being rebuilt. Rather, Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai actually holds like Rabbi Yehuda, that at etzem hayom hazeh doesn't mean till the morning of this day, it means till the evening of this day. Etzem means the later of this day. So once you don't have the Omer, you have to wait all day. Ta'amar, who sold Minat Torah Asur, who says that Minat Torah, you're not allowed to have any of the Chadash, once you don't have a Beis HaMikdash, until the end of the day, because ad etzem hayom hazeh, ad va'ad v'chal, as the Gemara will say. When it says ad until, it means including that which is until the very essence of the day. It means you can't have any of the new grain until the end of the day. Shenever, because the verse says ad etzem hayom hazeh. Etzem he interprets as ad itzumo shel yom, until the essence of the day, meaning the very end of the day. Because ad b'chlal. So what? That's what's going on here. Rabbi Yochanan and Zakkai were saying that biblically, you can't eat the new grain once we don't have a Beis Hamikdash, because now the verse says ad etzem hayom hazeh means until the very end of the day. When we several kavasi, does he hold like Rabbi Yehuda? What do you mean? He disagrees with Rabbi Yehuda. The fact that we went to the Mishnah, Mishachar Beis Hamikdash, when the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, Hiskin Rabbi Yochanan and Zakkai. Rabbi Yochanan and Zakkai made an enactment. He instituted Sheyeh Yom Henef Kulo Aser, that the entire second day of Pesach you can't have the new grain. It doesn't say that he says that now that you don't have a Beis Hamikdash you can't have new grain, because that's the pasuk. So I'm Rabbi Yehuda said, and then Rabbi Yehuda says to Rabbi Yochanan and Zakkai, what do you have to make an institution? It's a pasuk. From the Torah already, you're not allowed to have the new grain when you don't have a Beis Hamikdash on the second day of Pesach. Because it says, ad etzem hayom hazeh, don't have the new grain until this very day. What is this very day? Till the very essence of the day, till the end of the day. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Yehuda katzai. We rarely see such a thing. Rabbi Yehuda misunderstands Rabbi Yochanan and Zakkai. Rabbi Yehuda was the one who made a mistake. Who said Rabbi Yochanan and Zakkai midrabanan kama? He thinks that when Rabbi Yochanan and Zakkai says, I'm making a takana, that means it's an enactment that's rabbinic. Based on the fact that maybe the Beis Hamikdash is going to be rebuilt soon and we're going to have a problem. No, but that's not what's going on. Below, that's not true. Rabbi Yochanan and Zakkai midoraisa kama. Rabbi Yochanan and Zakkai was saying a biblical law. So when it says, hiskin katani, but it says he made an enactment. So when I says, yeah, my hiskin, what does it mean an enactment? Darash, he sat with a pasuk, he interpreted it, ad etzem hayom hazeh. He said, okay, this is what the pasuk means. Ad etzem hayom hazeh means that when we don't have a Beis Hamikdash, we have to wait with the new grain until the essence of the day, until the end of the day. Oh, so if that's the biblical law, that's what the pasuk is telling you, the hiskin. Now he made an enactment. It's not really a rabbinic enactment, it's a biblical drasha.
So biblically it works, you're really not supposed to eat it all day, but if you bring the Omer, you're allowed to eat it earlier?
Correct. According to Rabbi Yehuda. Whereas Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish are saying that according to those who disagree with Rabbi Yochanan and Zakkai and Rabbi Yehuda, the Chachamim, and already in the morning, you are permitted. Rav Papa and Rav Huna, the son of Rabbi Yoshua, Ach Chadash, they used to eat the new grain, but Urta de Shitzar, on the night after the 16th, Nagi Shavsa, right? As you know, the night that begins the 17th. Why? Because they are outside of Israel. This addresses the point that Roger and Baruch brought up earlier about outside of Israel. Kasavi, they hold like this. Chadash, the prohibition of eating the new grain, b'chutz la'aretz, outside of Israel, is only midrabanan. It's a rabbinic prohibition. There is a prohibition, but it's rabbinic. So since it's rabbinic, and it's therefore you can be lenient when you're in doubt. Therefore, l'sfeika lo chayshina. So now, on the night of the 17th, it's a suffix. Maybe it's the night of the 17th. Maybe it's Sveika the Yoma. It's really the night of the 16th. It's the night before the second day. Maybe it's not the night before the third day. Maybe we're off with our calendar. Okay, it's a suffix. It's a suffix we can already be mekel. Because we can assume it's the night of the 17th, and we can assume it's okay because it's Chadash and Chutz La'aretz.
Rabbi, why is this a rabbinical enactment on this when it's outside of the land of Israel?
The Gemara says that there's a question. How do you understand the verse about Chadash? And it says, B'chol mosh v'seichem, in all of your residences. Does it mean wherever you live, even outside of Israel? That would make it biblical. Maybe it's saying this applies wherever you live. In other words, once you live in Israel, then it starts. So the first 14 years when we were conquering the land, there was no law of Chadash, but only after we were settled in the land, that's when it started. But if you interpret it based on after settlement, and it's only in Israel and outside of Israel, it wouldn't apply biblically, but it could apply rabbinically. Made a rabbinic law.
So they really punished the Jews that they didn't live in Israel. They gave them one extra day for Shavuot, one extra day for,
No, they don't have an extra day for Chadash according to this.
But it says the 17th now.
No, but in Israel also, it was the whole 16th that they couldn't eat, and the night after the 16th they were eating.
Well, it's 16th in the afternoon.
The 16th.
No, we said that according to Rabbi Yochanan and Zakkai and Rabbi Yehuda, it's the entire 16th. And we're saying that here, also the whole 16th they didn't eat, but after the 16th, that night they could eat. Maybe the 16th at night is really the 15th at night. No, we don't have to worry about the
according to our thing there, the new day starts after marriage.
That's right.
So it should be the second night. It shouldn't be the second morning.
Well, no, because of the words ad etzem. Etzem means the very essence, so that's why it's not just the day.
But it was in the marketplace already by the 16th.
It was
Right.
in the marketplace in the times of the Beis Hamikdash. Now we're talking about practical halach.
But why did they have to wait till the morning of the next
Because of the
morning?
word etzem. Ad etzem hayom hazeh.
But I thought we interpret Atzim as first light of that day.
So morning would be first light.
But they're eating in the evening.
One second. The first view that we just read, the view of Rav Papa and Rav Huna, was they would eat the evening after the second day of Pesach.
So like
The
beginning of the third
evening,
day.
yeah, the beginning of the third day, after the second day of Pesach, they could eat. If you're outside of Israel, you don't know it's the beginning of the third day, based on Sveika Diyom, maybe it's the beginning of the second day. They said, no, they're not worried about that, because it's a suffix to Rabbanan. However, Rabbanan de Rav Ashi, the Rabbanan of the Yeshiva of Rav Ashi, Achli B'tzafra D'Shivsa. They would only eat on the morning of the 17th. Again, they're in Bava. Because Kasavri, they hold Chadash B'chutz La'aretz is Doraisa. But Chadash outside of Israel is also biblical. So therefore you have to be strict. So you can't eat on the night of the beginning of the third day, because maybe it's really the night of the beginning of the second day. But on the morning of the third day, then they would eat. Because Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, they held Midrabanan Kaman. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, when he said that you can't eat the entire second day, that's only a rabbinic enactment they held, not like the answer that the Gemara had given earlier. Therefore, v'chitakin, when did he make this rabbinic enactment? The Yom Hanif, when you're confident that it is the second day of Pesach. But l'sveika, but the day that you are in doubt that it might be the second day of Pesach, lo takin, he never made his enactment. Amar Ravina said, Amar li'ein, my mother told me, Avuch, your father, lo avachil chadash, he wouldn't eat grain, the new grain, ela bu'urta d'shivsar, only after the 17th, the night after the 17th, Nagit Munesar, the beginning of the 18th. Why? To Savala Rabbi Yehuda. He holds that it's biblical that once you don't have a Beis HaMikdash, the entire 16th is prohibited from grain. So since it's biblical, so now if you have a suffix about it, you have to be machmir. So since out of Israel we have a suffix about our days, and maybe what we think is the 17th is really the 16th, so the entire 17th is maybe the 16th, and you can't eat. Therefore, only after the 17th can you eat v'chayesh l'sveika. Therefore, if it's biblical, you have to be worried even for a suffix. So it sounds pretty clear from this Gemara that there is chadash outside of the land of Israel. The last view is that the chadash is biblical. So it sounds like those who want to be more machmir say chadash is biblical outside the land of Israel. You have to be careful. But again, the Bach says, if I recall, that there's a sveika. That one, maybe the halacha really is that chadash doesn't apply outside of Israel, and two, maybe the grain that we have isn't really chadash. Maybe it's yashin. I think that was the svek. Okay, Mishnah. By the way, the Hasidim, they have a whole story from the Baal Shem Tov, that he had a dream, and there were certain souls that were not being fixed, and then they said the merit of the Bach is going to fix these souls. So the Hasidim are very machmir that they're not makbid on Yashin. Because of the dream of the Baal Shem Tov, we should rely on the Bach in regards to Chadash, and they eat the new grain. Okay, so our learning today should be a schus in memory, Lili Nishmas, Judah's father. The art said is today Baruch ben Shmaryahu. Is that the name? I think it was, right? Baruch ben Shmaryahu. Right, so Judah's father loved Daf Yomi. After he retired, he learned with Rabbi Tzitz Daf Yomi, all of Shas, 1.5 times. So it's appropriate that our learning should be.
His son loves it too, Rabbi.
That's for sure. Everybody does. All right, next Mishnah. Ha'omer hayamatir b'Medina. The bringing of the Omer would permit the new grain outside of the Beis Hamikdash. But the bringing of the two breads are permitting the new grain Hamikdash to be brought as a mincha in the Beis Hamikdash. Hey, Rabbi Menachos. We don't bring menachos, ubikurim, and the new produce, uminchas behema, or a mincha of flour and oil that accompanies an animal, kodem la'omer, before the omer is brought. Imhevi, and if he did, hassle, that mincha would be disqualified. It's not kosher. Now, we just said that you need to have the bringing of the two breads to allow the new grain into the Beis Hamikdash as a mincha. But that's really also only lemitzvah. Kodem l'shtei alechem, if the omer was already brought, and you haven't yet brought the two loaves, lo yavi, you shouldn't bring new grain as a mincha. However, imhevi, if you did bring it, is kosher. So, Yosef Rav Tarfon, the Gemara says Rav Tarfon was sitting with Kakasha, then he had a problem. Ma bin kodem la'omer, lo kodem l'shtei alechem. Why is there a difference between before the omer, that if you bring from the new grain in the Beis Hamikdash, then the carbon is disqualified, and why from before the two breads, if you bring the new grain as a carbon, then it is, but you haven't accepted. Yehuda bar Nechemya said before him the answer. Lo, there's a difference. Before the omer, nobody's allowed to eat the new grain. Even individuals, not Beis Hamikdash, not allowed to eat the new grain. So then, if you bring to the Beis Hamikdash, it's not acceptable. But Tomar Kodem Shtei Alechem, that's not comparable to before the two breads. Since before the two breads, it's already after the Omer. So after the Omer, it's already become permitted to secular individuals. So once it's become permitted to individuals, so now it'll be allowed to be evident in the Beis Hamikdash. That's the answer. Shatak Rabbi Tarfon. So Tarfon was quiet. So Tzavu Panav Shor Yehuda bar Nechemya. So Yehuda bar Nechemya's face lit up and started to glow. I had the answer that Rabbi Tarfon didn't have. Amalo Rabbi Akiva. So Akiva said to him, Yehuda ben Nechemya, Tzavu panecha shishaftas hazakin. Your face is lit up, that you know the answer that the older sage doesn't know. You feel so good. You know more than him. It makes you feel good to make an old man feel embarrassed that he doesn't know. This is miskabed beklon chavero. Honoring oneself by putting somebody else down. You're dead. Tzmihani, I'd be shocked in Tarich Yamim if you live long. Amr Yehuda Rabbi Eloi, Osa Perek Prosa Pesachaya. That story happened 2 weeks before Pesach. Kishaliti la'atzeres, when I came up to Yerushalayim for Shavuos. Sha'alti Achav, I asked for Yehuda bar Nechemya. Hey Chanu, I said, where is he? Amru, they said, Niftar v'halachlo, he passed away. Don't be happy at proving the elderly sage wrong. Amr Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Nachman bar Yitzchak said, according to this logic, the different Yehuda ben Nechemya, according to the logic of Yehuda ben Nechemya, Nisachem Bikurim. Let's say you have wine from Bikurim, the new grapes, and out of the new grapes you make wine, and you bring it as Nisachem in the Beis Hamikdash. If you bring them before the Omer was brought, it would still be kosher. So Moshe Shitz, of course, that's the case. So Moshe said, no, I'll tell you. Ma'adatem would have thought Hasim Hudu Huta Michlalo Eitzel Hedget. In regards to grain before the Shtei Alechem, since it had become permitted to people outside of the Beis Hamikdash, that's why it can be brought in the Beis Hamikdash. Aval Hachavad, in regards to wine, Lo Huta Michlalo, where there's nothing permitting it, lo, you can't bring it. Kamachman, so that's the point. Kol Shekenu, all the more so. Lo Itztar Klal, it was never prohibited. Since the new wine is never prohibited, you can bring the new wine into the Beis Hamikdash right away. You don't need to wait for some point for something to be brought in the Beis Hamikdash to allow the new wine to come to the Beis Hamikdash.
What was the question?
But in regards to grain, the grain is prohibited to others, so it's actually prohibited to the Beis Hamikdash too. With the Omer, it becomes permitted to regular people. So now, with the Eved, it can be brought into the Beis Hamikdash. Even though l'chatchila, you should wait until the Shtei Alechem to bring the new grain into the Beis Hamikdash.
Why would it not be able to bring wine?
Say the new wine. Right. But also because the words of the pasuk said, "This is the bikurim. This is the first offering." Wine can be bikurim. It can be the bikurim gift.
So the Havamid is that it extends past grain.
Right? So we're saying no. This is a law only with grain. The Omer permits the new grain. You don't need the Omer to permit the new wine. Okay, Rabbi Chananya ben Akash.